When Sana Raman inherited her father's empire, the city applauded. Newspapers called it a seamless transition. Business channels praised her composure. Old allies of her father shook her hand with practiced smiles, assuring her that the Raman legacy was safe. The empire itself was enormous. Acres of land turned into luxury housing, private industrial zones, resorts advertised as symbols of national progress. From the outside, it looked clean, modern, and deserved. Inside Sana, however, something had already begun to rot. Her father's death had not brought grief in the way she expected. It brought paperwork. Endless files, deeds, court settlements sealed decades ago, and contracts written in language so polished it hid violence beneath its grammar. At night, when the city fell quiet and the guards outside her home changed shifts, Sana read. She read until her eyes burned, until the words blurred, until the truth became unavoidable. The land was stolen. Not metaphorically, not indirectly. Villages erased through legal tricks, forged consent, military pressure, and forced evacuations disguised as development. Indigenous communities displaced, their histories flattened into footnotes. Compensation promised, never delivered. Complaints silenced. Graves bulldozed. Her father had not built an empire, he had absorbed lives. Sana closed one file and stared at the window, where the city lights stretched endlessly. She had grown up believing these lights represented success. Now they looked like a constellation powered by loss. She tried, at first, to distance herself. This was his doing, not mine. But the law did not see bloodlines emotionally. The empire was hers now. Every profit that entered her accounts carried the weight of those documents. Every congratulatory message echoed with names she would never know. The discomfort followed her everywhere. Board meetings felt theatrical, charity galas felt obscene. Her silence began to feel like participation. It was during one of her rare visits to the outskirts, land still legally contested, that she met Ayan. He was not dramatic. He did not shout. He did not accuse her publicly. He spoke as if exhaustion had replaced anger long ago. An indigenous rights activist, he had grown up hearing stories of the land his people lost, stories told not with nostalgia, but with mourning. When Sana arrived with her security detail, expecting hostility, Ayan only asked her to walk with him. He showed her dry wells where water once ran freely, trees marked with cloth strips, each one a boundary memory. A school built by the community itself, lacking electricity, standing in the shadow of a Raman-funded industrial facility. "This land remembers," he said quietly, "even when documents pretend it doesn't." Sana wanted to explain, to defend, to apologize. None of the words survived long enough to leave her mouth. Before she left, Ayan said something that followed her for weeks. "You inherited more than wealth. You inherited a choice: fight the past or repeat it." The choice was not dramatic. It was slow, painfully slow. If Sana chose restitution, real restitution, she would lose everything her world valued. Investors would flee, lawsuits would come stacked like walls, her father's name would collapse, her social standing would evaporate. She would become a cautionary tale, not a successor. If she chose silence, life would continue smoothly. The city would keep praising her restraint, the empire would grow, the past would stay buried. For days, she lived between those options, like a body suspended above water, unsure whether drowning or falling was worse. The decision came not in a moment of bravery, but in a moment of fatigue. Sana realized she was tired of pretending ignorance, tired of rehearsed smiles, tired of sleeping inside stolen comfort. She announced restitution publicly. The backlash was immediate and merciless. Her board accused her of betrayal. Senior executives resigned overnight. Media outlets reframed her as unstable. Politicians distanced themselves. Lawsuits stacked like walls around her. Even family members called her reckless, emotional, ungrateful. "You're destroying your father's legacy," they said. But Sana had come to understand something painful. Some legacies deserve destruction. She returned land where legal reversal was possible. Where it wasn't, she paid compensation far beyond what advisors recommended. She halted projects mid-construction. She funded community ownership, not branded philanthropy. Each signature cost her millions. Each announcement stripped another layer of status from her name. Friends stopped calling. Invitations vanished. Security was reduced. Her home grew quieter, not peaceful, but empty. Eventually, she left the city. She moved to a modest settlement near the very land her father had taken decades earlier, not as a savior, not as a leader, simply as a resident willing to live with the consequences of repair. There were no ceremonies, no forgiveness speeches, just daily life heavy with memory. At night, the silence was different. No traffic, no artificial glow, just wind, insects, and the weight of self-awareness. Sana often cried, not because she regretted her choice, but because justice did not feel heroic. It felt lonely. Ayan visited sometimes. They spoke little. Trust did not come easily, nor should it have. Some wounds do not heal just because someone finally admits they exist. "Do you miss it?" he asked once, referring to her old life. Sana thought of luxury, influence, and ease. She thought of how simple everything was when she didn't know. "Yes," she answered honestly, "but I don't miss who I was there." Years passed. Sana never regained her former status. Her name disappeared from rankings and headlines. History would not remember her kindly or harshly, just briefly, if at all. But something quieter happened. Communities stabilized. Land breathed again. Children learned stories that were once interrupted. Sana learned to live without applause. She learned that identity is not inherited, it is chosen, often at great cost. She learned that purpose doesn't erase guilt, but it gives guilt somewhere to go. She learned that doing the right thing rarely feels victorious and almost never feels fair. Some nights she still dreamed of her father, not as a villain, just as a man shaped by his time, his hunger, his silence. She would wake with tears she could not fully explain. This was not redemption, it was responsibility, and in losing everything that once defined her, she finally became someone she could live with.